Welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago. Today we're looking back at the hot comics from September 18th, 2020, and I'm recording this on March 19th, 2021. As always, we're looking back at these lists to try to understand what made these comics hot, what factors were in play then, what has changed in the 6 months since. Are they still going for those same rates, or could you have done better if you'd been a little patient? We're also always looking back at the CBSI Hot Top 10 and the Comic Tom Key Collector Hottest Trending Comics of the Week. Each of them put out a list of 10. This week we got 16 books to talk about. So with that, let's get into this list. First up, we have only one kind of option TV book this week, and that is Undone by Blood, #1. Basically, there were reports that Norman Reedus was working on an adaptation of this for TV. Back then, that caused raw books to jump to $20 to $25. As is the case, so most of the time with option news is there's usually going to be a long lull without any additional news. Even if it's going to get made, there's almost always a long lull without any additional news. That's been the case here. Right now, raw copies are going for $5 to $15. 9.8s are only going $30 to $60. So this one definitely hasn't maintained any of that buzz or hype. Still going for above cover, which is not bad for a relatively new book. I think the series still has a little bit of buzz itself, even without the TV thing, but just not maintaining those values that it was going for 6 months ago. Next, we have a little bit of an unusual, and that is Hero Trade, #1, the Ash Can, that was kind of the surprise, super limited release from Bad Idea that only went to certain stores, only went in small numbers. Everybody was jumping all over this. ENIAC is the more recent Bad Idea release that's also been very popular. They have this kind of strange business model going. So far, it's caused a lot of buzz and a lot of interest in their books. Back then, this one was going for $260, and there was one sale for $260, and then there was a couple of auctions that were going for more when they put it on the list and talked about it. Now this is a $900 book raw. 9.8s have went for around $1,500. This book has maintained. It's been super hot. I didn't think it would matter. It had to, I figured the story had to matter, but so far that doesn't really seem to be the case. People are jumping all over these Bad Idea stuff. Not to say the story's bad, just that it seems to be this interesting release, this very limited release. People are running with it and wanting these books. So this one is definitely going through has continued to go through the roof, and it's going for big money. Next, we're going to move into our one cover of the week, a cover that I particularly enjoy, and this is Batman #99, the 1 in 25 Jimenez Nightwing variant. Back then, just at release, this was going for $30 to $40. So not quite double ratio and a half. Now it's a $15 to $30 book, so basically at ratio. 9.8s are going for $60 to $80. So this one is, most of these Jimenez 1 in 25s, they did all through these late 90s into a little after 100 for Batman. They did a character design on almost all of these. Some of them have done pretty well, but for the most part, they've all kind of fallen back to ratio to slightly above, or some of them are definitely below ratio. So none of these really caught fire and went for big money, but not even the Punchline one that was on 92, even it's kind of fallen back. I think it's not even double ratio at this point either. So so these have all kind of fallen back. Still really cool covers. Maybe now's the time I'll finally pick it up as a big Nightwing fan. Next, we're going to move into Comic Buzz. And first up, we have Century #4 from 2018. And this had everything to do with the start of the King in Black series. And basically, this was the first appearance of a new version of Century, the Void Century, or the Void God of Light, which was supposed to be sort of an antithesis of Null kind of thing, maybe. I don't know exactly what was going on here. But anyway, so people were jumping all over this book for $30 to $60. And this is kind of the cameo, I guess, or there's a debate on it. This is the first, or if this is the cameo, because we'll talk about #5 here in a second. And now this is a $1 to $15 book. This was a huge trap. Come on, man. It didn't amount to anything. People jumped on this because Kate And yeah, you kind of wasted your money if you spent big money on this book. Next, we have Century number 5. Same sort of thing. I think it was a back and forth debate on whether or not this was the first or if 4 was the first and that kind of thing. So people were chasing both books. This one was going 40 to 50. It's a $5 to $15 book. Another big giant trap. There was no payoff here in King in Black. So yeah, this ended up not mattering. Next, we're going to move to Venom number 25, the Walmart variant. This is obviously first virus. This was around the time people were finding out the truth about virus, I believe, that it was just Matt Gargan and that kind of stuff. But people were jumping on this rare Walmart variant. Most of the time, these Walmart variants aren't actually that rare. Just maybe each individual Walmart doesn't get a ton of them, but there's a ton of Walmarts. So they're really not that rare. But yeah, this one was going for $40 to $50 back then, and now it's a $5 to $15 book. 60 to 90 for a 9.8, which is a little higher than I would expect for a $5 to $15 book. Maybe just hasn't been a ton of them slabbed. Plus, it's a Walmart book, so it's a little tougher to get a 9.8. It's keeping that value up a little bit. Our next comic buzz is X-Men number 12, the first appearance of the High Summoner. Another character that sort of looked like Null, so people were like jumping on this first appearance as well. This was going for $10 to $15. Yeah, this is now a $5 to $10 book. This character really hasn't paid off yet. 9.8 could be out for $40, which is basically cover price plus your shipping and fees to get it slabbed as a 9.8. So you're not really making any money off of that. This one definitely didn't really amount to much. Now, $10 to $15 pay-in. Not really, I called it a trap back then. Not really a trap, but it's still not a great investment. So now if you can find it for cover, then hey, why not? But definitely not worth the values it was going back then. Next up, we have Ice Cream Man Presents number 1, the Quarantine Comics Special. This is the 1 per store foil variant that we're talking about of this. And back then, this book was going for $100 right out of the gate. This one's falling back a little bit. It's now a $30 to $100 book for a raw copy. There have been a couple sales up toward 100, but most of the sales have been 40, 50-ish range. 9.8s are going for 125, 150. Ice Cream Man's been a super popular series. The number 1 is still going for big money. Several of the covers throughout the run are going for big money. But this one has fallen back some. Still going for a good value for a 1 per store. If you get $40, $50, that's pretty good. So Ice Cream Man remains pretty popular, even if this one hasn't maintained those initial prices. Next, we have The Goon, number 1 from 1999. This is the Avatar Press one. So I know there's several different Goon number 1s and that kind of stuff. You got to make sure you're looking for the Avatar Press version and not one of the reprints from other companies. A raw copy of this was going for $350 back then. 9.8s were hitting $1,500 to $1,800. Still kind of sitting in the same range. Raw copies are down a little bit, $250, $350-ish range, but 9.8s are up a little bit. The most recent one went for $2,000. This is just kind of a popular underground indie series. There's not a lot of these. It's a character that people like. So yeah, this one's continued to maintain really good value, and probably will going forward. Next, we got 3 Star Wars books we're going to talk about this week. First up, we have Star Wars Mace Windu, number 4. This is the origin of Mace. So this is kind of his origin story in this issue. And it's had everything to do with the rumors that there's going to be a Samuel L. Jackson is going to come back and they're going to do a Mace Windu show, kind of like the Obi-Wan show they're doing, that kind of stuff within the Star Wars universe. I don't know that so far there hasn't been any kind of necessary truth or confirmation of those rumors, I guess, but people are still kind of specking on it. Back then it hit the list because there was a huge increase of sales, but values didn't really go up. It was still only going for averaging $4. To me, that's not really a hot book. It has kind of jumped up a little bit since then. It's basically going for 10 to 20 now, and with a 9.8 going for $250. Now, I will say that's only one sale. I should say that 9.8 went for $250. That's one sale. And that's because there's just not very many of these on the census yet. Not many people have had these slabbed. So, but raw copies are 10 to 20. So this one's actually went up. Like everything Star Wars, at this point, do you doubt that Star Wars is going to go up? It seems like everything just keeps going up. And that could be said for the next few books. First, we got Star Wars Jedi versus Sith, #1, the first appearance of Darth Bane. This is the Dynamic Forces variant of that book. Back then, raw copies were hitting $500. Now they're hitting $1,100. 9.8s are going for $3,500. People are convinced that some of these legacy characters are going to be turned into something by Disney. I personally am not. I think Disney's going to focus on this new High Republic characters they've been creating. They're going to focus on this after the Return of Jedi time period. Maybe way down the road, we might get some other legend stories and that kind of stuff. We might eventually see like a Darth Bane, but I think we're a long way from seeing anything like that. But people are still jumping on these books right now and driving the prices up on them. Next, we have Star Wars Kanan the Last Padawan, #6. I think CGC still says #1 is the first full appearance of the whole crew, but everyone has decided, the community has decided that this is the first full appearance of Sabine and Ezra. And this was all about, hit the list, all about speculation because of the trailer and a mysterious figure watching him that Sabine was going to be in season 2 of The Mandalorian. And so back then, this book was hitting $35, $60 raw. Despite all that, this book has continued to, despite Sabine not appearing in The Mandalorian, this book has continued to go up. Now a raw copy will cost you $125 to $225. 9.8s are going to cost you $600 to $700 on this book. And that's because they've announced, there's going to be a season 3. They've announced an Ahsoka show. Everybody thinks that Sabine is going to appear sooner rather than later. I tend to agree with them. So yeah, that's why this book has continued to climb. And I have a feeling that if she gets announced and cast, it'll probably climb some more. So we got 4 books left, excuse me. There's 16. Sorry, I can only see 2 on my screen. Let me scroll up. There we go. And they're all MCU sort of related books. First up, we have Shuri #2. This is the second print, of just kind of that's kind of really rare, hard to find, great cover. It still has everything to do with kind of the fallout from Chadwick Boseman passing away, and people are really specking on Shuri as a character going forward. But this cover is really hard to find. We talked about the first print of this cover last week. That people really liked it, and it was jumping in value. Well, this second print took off. Raw copies were hitting $175 to $200 back then. Now they're going for $50 to $100, so it's really falling back. 9.8 is still going for $275 to $300, which is really good. But definitely well down from that buzz and excitement around when everybody was first specking on Shuri. So this book has kind of calmed down a little bit. Actually calmed down a lot for raw copies. So 3 more books to go. First of our last 3 books is Magnificent Miss Marvel #13. This is also a second print and the first appearance of Amulet. This is a character people are kind of specking on might appear in the Miss Marvel Disney Plus show that we know is coming. Back then, raw copies were hitting $20, $25. Now they're down to a $5 to $10 book. 9.8, there's been 3 sales around $40, but there was 1 sale for $130, which is kind of an odd outlier. I don't know if that person just didn't look and they just did a click to buy it now because they were looking for one. But yeah, so there was a little bit of an outlier sale in there, but overall this book has definitely been well down. Now would be the time if you could find one, just in case the character does appear. Maybe it's a good time to grab it. We'll see. If you can get it for basically cover price, then you're not doing too bad. Next, we have Amazing Fantasy #1. This is the first appearance of Arana, which is Anya Corazon, who later becomes Spider-Girl. And this is just another spider character that's hitting the list, that value is jumping on, and this has everything to do with just, people thinking expanded Spider-Verse, that animated movie, plus just Sony wanting to make stories out of these characters. So this is just another spider character people are specking on. Back then, raw copies were going for $70 to $80. Now they're down to about $20 to $50 for a raw copy. 9.8s are down to around $200, although there was an odd sale again of one for $400. So you kind of have to wonder about that, what was going on there. I didn't dig too deep, but realistically, it's about $200 for a 9.8. I wouldn't be chasing one for more. So this one definitely turned into an I'll be back again. Now maybe is a better time to invest in this particular spider character if you think there might be some legs to this. And our final book of the week is Avengers number 8, the first appearance of Kang the Conqueror. And this hit the list because of casting news of Kang for Ant-Man and the Quantum of Madness, or no, it's Multiverse of Madness. Quantumania, or whatever. I forget the name of that Ant-Man movie. But anyway, we know Kang is coming to that movie. We have casting for that. Back then, this thing was hitting all-time highs. 6.5 hit $1,000. 7.5 hit $1,500. A 9.4 hit $3,600. Now 6.5s are still going for around 1,000. 7.5, the most recent sale is all the way up to $2,250. I will say there'd been a couple sales in between that have been about that same $1,500, but this most recent sale did jump all the way up to $2,250. 9.4 has jumped all the way up to $4,400. So this is a straight cash book. People, this is a really good villain. Most people expect if he appears in the MCU, he's not going to be a one-off, that he's going to be billed to something bigger, some kind of larger storyline. I would tend to agree that probably they'll use Kang more than once. But that's this week's list. We had a little bit of MCU stuff, but overall, almost everything on this list. I mean, we had the Star Wars stuff continued to go up because everything Star Wars has continued to go up. Obviously, the Kang, the first Avengers 8 continued to go up, but almost everything else was a trap of some sort. Except for that Bad Idea book, the Hero Trade, that also kind of jumped up. But yeah, if you were specking on that Century stuff or Venom 25 or any of that kind of stuff, that really hasn't paid off, at least right now. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time.